In 1955, a Boy Scout could start a fire in the rain, purify creek water, and sleep warm through a freezing night with nothing but a pocket knife and whatever the forest gave him. Today, that same weekend costs $800 at the outdoor store. But here is the twist. Number 12 is something survival instructors quietly teach their students, even though no gear company will ever sell it to you. And number 3, a 50-cent item most people throw in the trash, yet it outperforms products costing 40 times as much. The outdoor industry spent millions convincing you that staying alive outside requires a credit card. It does not. Before we start, hit that subscribe button because what you learn today could save you a small fortune. Let us count down 25 poor man's camping skills that make expensive survival gear look ridiculous. Number 25, char cloth from an old cotton t-shirt. Before anyone was paying $18 for a tin of instant tinder, woodsmen made their own for pennies. You take a square of pure cotton, an old shirt, a scrap of denim, and cook it inside a sealed metal tin with a tiny hole punched in the lid. Set it in the coals and watch the little jet of smoke. When the smoke stops, the cloth has turned to soft black char that catches a single spark like it is starving for it. One dead t-shirt makes 50 pieces, a single spark from a rock, and that char glows orange, ready to birth a flame in a nest of dry grass. Survival stores sell you a fancy version in a foil pouch. Your grandfather made a lifetime supply out of laundry he was going to throw away. Number 24, dryer lint and egg cartons. Every load of laundry you run produces a free fire starter that most people vacuum up and dump in the garbage. Pack that fluffy dryer lint into the pockets of a cardboard egg carton. Then pour a little melted candle wax over the top. Let it harden. Now you have 12 fire starters that each burn for a solid 8 to 10 minutes, long enough to dry out and ignite damp kindling on the worst morning. Tear one cup off, light the cardboard edge, and set your twigs over the flame. A box of name-brand fire cubes runs $12 for a dozen. This costs you nothing but the wax stub from last Thanksgiving's dinner table, and it works better because it burns longer and hotter. Number 23, petroleum jelly cotton balls. This one is almost embarrassing how well it works. Take an ordinary cotton ball, the kind in the bathroom cabinet, and work a fingertip of petroleum jelly into it until it is saturated but still fluffy on the outside. Stuff a handful into an empty pill bottle, and you are carrying a week of guaranteed fire in your shirt pocket. Pull one apart to expose the dry fibers. Touch a spark to it, and it lights instantly, then burns for 4 or 5 full minutes, even in a stiff wind. Backpacking shops sell waxed tinder tabs at a premium. A bag of cotton balls and a travel jar of petroleum jelly costs about $3 total and makes over 100 of these. No gadget comes close. Number 22, birch bark, the fire that laughs at rain. Native tribes and old trappers knew a secret the gear catalogs conveniently ignore. The papery white bark peeling off a birch tree is loaded with natural oils, so it lights even when it is soaking wet. You gently strip the loose outer layers, never cutting into the living tree, and shred them into a loose ball. One spark, and it flares up with a black, oily smoke that dries and ignites the wood around it. On a gray, drizzling morning when your matches are sweating and your fancy ferro rod feels useless, birch bark is the thing that saves the trip. It is free, it grows across half of North America, and it beats the $40 all-weather tinder every single time. Number 21, fatwood, nature's kerosene. Look at the base of any old pine stump where a branch used to grow, and you will find wood so soaked in hardened resin it looks almost orange and smells like turpentine. That is fatwood, and it is one of the finest fire starters on earth. Shave off a small pile of curls with your knife, and that concentrated pine sap catches a spark and burns with a fierce, sputtering flame that laughs at wind and damp. A pound of it sells online for $12, packaged like it is exotic. It is lying on the forest floor for free at nearly every campsite in the country. One fist-sized chunk of fatwood will start dozens of fires. The pioneers never bought a fire starter in their lives. Number 20, the feather stick. When everything is wet and there is no dry tinder anywhere, an old bushcraft trick turns a single dry cord stick into its own kindling. You take a finger-thick piece of dead wood, brace it, and shave long, thin curls down its length without slicing them off, so the stick blooms into a shaggy wooden flower. Those thin feathered shavings have far more surface area than the solid wood, so they catch flame from a coal or a lighter, while the wet outer world stays wet. Bushcraft schools charge you $150 for a weekend to learn this. It takes a sharp knife, a steady hand, and about 5 minutes of practice. No product on any shelf replaces the skill in your own 2 hands. Number 19, steel wool and a 9-volt battery. Here is the first pattern break, and it feels like a magic trick the first time you see it. Take a pad of fine steel wool, the kind under your kitchen sink, and touch the 2 terminals of an ordinary 9-volt battery straight to it. The electrical current races through the thin metal fibers, and they burst into glowing orange sparks instantly. No spark, no flame needed. Drop that glowing wool into your tinder bundle and blow gently. This works when your hands are numb, when it is pouring, when a lighter would never spark. A plasma arc survival lighter costs $30 and dies if it gets wet. A battery from the smoke detector and a scrap of steel wool cost under $2 and never fail you. Number 18, Ranger bands from a bicycle inner tube. Ask any old-timer and they will tell you a dead bike tube is worth more than half the gadgets in a survival kit. Cut an old inner tube into rings of different widths and you have Ranger bands, rugged rubber loops that bundle your gear, waterproof seal your matches, and grip anything. But here is the real magic. That same rubber, cut into a strip, burns hot and black and long, lighting a fire in a downpour when nothing else will. It is tinder, lashing, and repair material all in one. Bushcraft companies actually sell pre-cut Ranger bands in little bags. Your local bike shop throws punctured tubes in the dumpster and will happily hand you a stack for free. One tube outfits your whole pack. Number 17, the duct tape water bottle. Instead of carrying a bulky roll of tape, wrap 3 or 4 feet of good duct tape around your water bottle or a short pencil, flat and tight. Now you have a field repair kit that weighs nothing and rides along with gear you already carry. That tape patches a ripped tent, splints a sprained ankle over a sock, seals a leaking bottle, closes a wound in a pinch, and even reinforces a worn-out boot heel to get you back to the truck. Outdoor stores sell expedition repair kits for $25 in a fancy pouch. A single roll of duct tape costs $4 and fixes 90% of what those kits promise. The trick is simply carrying it wrapped so it is always there and never forgotten in the garage. Number 16, the tarp A-frame. A $300 tent is a wonderful thing right up until a pole snaps and you are holding a very expensive bag of nylon. A plain 9x9 tarp and 30 feet of cord will shelter you through almost anything, and there is nothing to break. You run a taut ridgeline between 2 trees, drape the tarp over it, stake the corners out low and tight, and you have an A-frame that sheds rain and blocks wind. Pitch one side to the ground on a cold night, and it becomes a lean-to that throws your fire's heat right back at you. A quality tarp costs $25 and lasts a decade. The skill is in the knots and the angle, and once you own that skill, you never depend on a delicate tent again. Number 15, the debris bed. Here is a truth. The sleeping pad industry does not advertise. The cold that ruins your night does not come from the air. It comes up from the ground, sucking the warmth right out of your back. Long before foam pads existed, woodsmen slept warm by piling up a thick mattress of dry leaves, pine needles, and grass, a foot deep or more, and lying right on top of it. All those trapped air pockets insulate you from the frozen earth better than you would ever believe. A high-end inflatable sleeping pad runs $180 and pops on the first sharp root. A pile of forest debris costs nothing, works every time, and the forest never runs out of it. Fluff it thick, and the ground can no longer steal your heat. Number 14, the fire reflector wall. People build a fire, sit behind it shivering, and never realize half their heat is blasting off into the empty woods behind the flames. The fix is a wall. You stack a low barrier of green logs or flat rocks on the far side of your fire, and it bounces the radiant heat back toward you and your shelter instead of letting it escape into the dark. Pair it with a lean-to at your back, and you sit in a warm pocket of reflected heat all night on far less wood. Camp stores sell folding metal heat reflectors for $40. A few dead logs and 10 minutes of stacking do the exact same job for free, and they double as a windbreak that keeps your flame from getting scattered. Number 13. The emergency space blanket used right. Most people crinkle open one of these thin foil sheets, wrap it around their shoulders like a shiny cape, and wonder why they are still cold. That is not how it works. A space blanket does not make heat. It reflects it, so the trick is to hang it behind you like a reflector, bouncing your fire's warmth onto your body, or to line the inside of your shelter so your own body heat gets thrown back at you. Used that way, a $2 foil sheet the size of a deck of cards does what a bulky insulated blanket cannot. The gear industry sells heat-reflective bivvies for $60 built on this exact principle. The cheap version does 90% of the job if you simply understand the physics. Number 12, the trash bag rain suit. Second pattern break, and this is the one that gets people arguing in the comments. A contractor-grade garbage bag, the heavy black 42-gallon kind, is one of the most versatile pieces of survival gear ever made, and it costs about $1.25. Cut a hole for your head and 2 for your arms, and you have an instant rain poncho that keeps your core bone dry through a storm. But it does not stop there. Stuff it with leaves, and it is an insulated sleeping quilt. Fill it with water, and it is a canteen. Split it open, and it becomes a ground sheet or a shelter roof. A brand-name rain jacket runs $200 and does exactly one job. A trash bag costs pennies and does 10. Carry 3, and you are never caught out. Number 11, the soda can alcohol stove. This one looks like a craft project and cooks like a machine. You cut the bottoms off 2 aluminum soda cans, punch a ring of tiny holes around the rim, and fit the pieces together into a little stove no bigger than a hockey puck. Pour in an ounce of denatured alcohol or even hand sanitizer, light it, and a crown of blue flame roars up hot enough to boil 2 cups of water in about 5 minutes. It weighs half an ounce, and it is nearly free. A titanium backpacking stove costs $150, and a canister of fuel costs another $8. Thru hikers who have tried both often go right back to the soda can, because when a beer can and a pocket knife cook your dinner, the expensive stove starts to look a little ridiculous. Number 10, the pot cozy. Here is a fuel-saving trick the backpacking world quietly swears by. Instead of standing there burning fuel to keep your dinner at a simmer, you bring the water to a boil, drop in your pasta or rice, then pull the pot off the flame and tuck it inside a cozy and insulated wrap made from a reflective car windshield sunshade and a little foil tape. The trapped heat finishes the cooking for you while the food sits, using 0 fuel for the next 15 minutes. Your meal cooks itself while you set up camp. A store-bought insulated cook system costs $60. A $3 sunshade from the dollar store, cut and taped around your pot, saves you 1/3 of your fuel on every single trip. Over a long hike, that is real money left in your pocket. Number 9, boiling water in a plastic bottle. Third pattern break, and I promise this sounds insane until you try it. You can boil water in a plain plastic bottle right over a fire without it melting, because the water inside absorbs the heat faster than the plastic can burn. Fill the bottle to the very top, leave the cap off, and suspend it low over the coals. As long as water touches every inch of the plastic from the inside, the bottle holds together long enough to bring that water to a rolling boil and make it safe to drink. Empty spots will scorch, so it must stay full. The same principle works with a paper cup or even a leaf folded into a bowl. When your metal pot is lost downriver, physics itself becomes your cookware for free. Number 8, rock boiling. This is the oldest cooking trick humanity has, and it still humbles a modern camp kitchen. Before metal pots existed, people boiled water inside wooden bowls, bark containers, even a hole lined with a garbage bag, by heating fist-sized stones in the fire and dropping them into the water one at a time. Each glowing rock hisses and transfers its heat, and within a few rocks the water is boiling hard enough to cook a stew or purify a drink. The one rule the old-timers knew: never use rocks from a stream or river, because trapped moisture inside can make them crack apart. Dry stones only. A camp cook set runs $70. A few dry rocks and a container you already have turn any hollow into a working kettle. Number 7, the transpiration bag. When there is no stream in sight, a leafy tree will hand you clean water for the price of a plastic bag. You tie a clear bag tightly over the end of a green, leafy branch in the morning sun, and as the plant breathes throughout the day, it releases water vapor that condenses on the inside of the bag and pools at the bottom. By evening, you can collect a surprising cupful of clean, drinkable water that the tree filtered for you through its own roots and leaves. Use a non-toxic, leafy tree and keep the bag in full sun. Emergency water filtration systems run $80 and clog with silt. A 1-cent bag and a sunny branch quietly make water out of thin air while you go about your day. Number 6, solar water disinfection. This is a trick relief workers use across the developing world, and almost no camper knows it. Clear, cloudy water goes into a clear plastic bottle, and you lay it on its side in direct sunlight for 6 hours, longer on an overcast day. The sun's ultraviolet rays penetrate the water and destroy the bacteria and viruses that make you sick, leaving it safe to drink. It costs absolutely nothing but time and daylight. Lay a bottle on a reflective surface like a metal roof or foil to speed it up. A pump-style backpacking water filter costs $90 and its cartridge wears out. The sun has been sanitizing water for 4 billion years and has never once needed a replacement filter or asked for your credit card. Number 5, newspaper insulation. When the temperature drops and you did not pack enough layers, the answer might be sitting in your recycling bin. Crumpled newspaper stuffed between your shirt and jacket or packed inside your boots and around your torso traps a thick layer of dead air that holds your body heat astonishingly well. Homeless survivors and old soldiers have used this trick for a century, calling it a Wisconsin sleeping bag, when they line a bedroll with it. A few sheets weigh nothing and cost nothing. A premium down jacket runs $300 and is useless once it gets wet, while newspaper still insulates even damp. It is not glamorous, and you will look ridiculous doing it, but crawling into a paper-stuffed jacket on a brutal night beats shivering next to your expensive gear. Number 4, the wool blanket bedroll. Long before mummy sleeping bags, soldiers and cowboys slept warm across the continent with one simple thing: a wool blanket. Wool has a property no synthetic can fully match. It stays warm even when it is soaking wet because its fibers trap heat right through the moisture. You lay it out, folded into a bedroll, wrapped in a tarp, and you have a bed that dries fast, resists sparks from the fire, and lasts for decades instead of years. A top-tier down sleeping bag costs $400 and turns into a cold, useless clump the moment it gets damp. A surplus wool blanket costs $20, throws sparks off harmlessly, and your great-grandkids could still be sleeping under it. The military never abandoned wool for a reason. Number 3, paracord. The 50-cent miracle. Here it is, the item most people never think twice about, yet it outperforms gear costing 40 times as much. A hank of genuine 7-strand paracord rigs your entire shelter, hangs your food away from bears, replaces broken bootlaces, and lashes a splint. But pull it apart, and the 7 thin inner strands become fishing line, sewing thread, snare wire, and dental floss. 7 tools hidden inside one cord. A single foot holds hundreds of pounds. 50 feet costs about $5 and weighs nothing. Meanwhile, the outdoor industry sells modular gear systems and specialized straps for a small fortune. Wrap a bracelet of it around your wrist and you are carrying 10 feet of survival gear you will forget is even there until the moment it saves your entire trip. Number 2, the humble bandana. Fourth and final pattern break, because a square of cotton has no business being this useful. A bandana filters silt out of muddy water before you purify it, cools your neck when you soak it in a stream, and slings a hurt arm. It becomes a potholder, a dust mask, a bandage, a signal flag, a bag for gathering berries, and a char cloth source when it finally wears out. Fold it, tie it, soak it, burn it. It earns its place 10 times over on every trip. Companies now sell multifunction survival wraps printed with tiny instructions for $30. A plain cotton bandana costs $2 at any hardware store and does everything the expensive one does. Plus, it doubles as the one thing the fancy version forgot, an ordinary handkerchief when you have a cold in camp. And finally, number 1, the 99-cent lighter. After all the flint and steel and bow drills, here is the truth the survival world does not love to admit. The single greatest fire-starting tool ever invented is a disposable butane lighter that costs less than $1 at any gas station. One lighter delivers thousands of flames, works instantly with a flick of your thumb, needs no skill, no tinder prep, and no glowing coal to nurse. It fits in the smallest pocket and weighs almost nothing. Meanwhile, catalogs sell survival fire pistons and machined flint tools for $200, marketed with photos of rugged hands and mountain sunsets. Carry 2 cheap lighters in a waterproof bag, and you have out-equipped a man carrying the most expensive fire kit on the market. Skill beats gear, but the humblest tool of all beats them both. Here is my challenge to you. Pick just one of these before your next trip. Make a jar of petroleum jelly cotton balls. Wrap tape around your bottle. Cut up an old bike tube. Then get out there and try it and come back and tell me if I was wrong. Because once you learn these, that $800 gear wall starts to look a whole lot smaller. Drop a comment with the one you're trying first. Our grandfathers knew this stuff by heart. Now you do too.